Sawadee-ka! Let's make sure it's all working. I think I've done everything tonight. Oops, pardon me. I didn't do my burping before we started, so now that's all coming out. I have to say, I just did something so funny. Just before I was about to go live, Khaleesi decided that she had to have her dinner then. And so I went to get her biscuits down, like the little nibble bits. And I dropped the pot and it went everywhere, like all over the kitchen. I was already late for the stream, so my partner has to clean it all up. I'm sorry, I'm still in the giggling mode from it, because he doesn't so much like the dog food, the dirt, the things, you know, that come along with the dog. The bits of chicken everywhere. Oh dear. It reminds me of this time. This was so funny. It was when my dad was really ill, and my brother was helping my dad with with my mum with the shopping, and my dad was quite ill, and you know, and like everybody's like stressed and on tenterhooks, and then my brother like walks into the house and he's carrying like 6 bottles, so 3 big bottles in each hand in the bags, of fizzy drink or fizzy pop, I'm not sure what you call it in your country. And then my mum was stood behind him in the doorway, and the bag split, and then they all got dropped, and like 3 or 4 of the bottles lids popped off, and they were already like pumped up for some reason, and then they like squirted all around the kitchen, and then my brother stepped out of the way to like not get the fizzy drink on him, and it went all over my mum. So my mum is like exhausted from all the stuff with my dad, and then she's got like fizzy drink all over her, all over the kitchen, and then I came in or something. I can't remember exactly how it went. And then I just started giggling, and then my dad started giggling, and then my mum started giggling, and then my brother. I think there was a few like, "What are you doing, James?" from my mum when like he steps out of the way, and it's like all over her face. Sometimes these types of things, you just have to laugh at them because they're so surreal in the moment. It's like, I'm just helping my mum because my dad's really ill, and then I drop the pop everywhere. Oh dear. So I can hear my partner now like putting the nuggets one by one into the pot, like dunk, dunk. Maybe not so funny to you guys. Nice. Good evening to you. I hope you're having a beautiful evening. If this is the first time you've been on live stream, I will inform you of how it works. If you want to call in, then you are welcome to call, but you have to use your headset with microphone, so it doesn't echo, and you have to have good internet so it doesn't like cut out and make lots of problems while we're trying to talk. So those are 2 requirements, but you don't have to call in. You can also write me a message, and I will try and get to that and read it out and answer it. And when you want to call in, just put "call me" in the chat box, and I'll call you when I'm ready. So the way that the evening progresses is we start off with like 10 or 15 minutes of silent sitting, and then I do an introduction for like 20 minutes. And then after the introduction, I take questions and answers. Yes. And now Khaleesi is barking to come in. She's finished her food. So I'm just going to quickly let her in. Whoops. The dog is in. It was all for the love of dog. All for the love of dog. And then, so just a bit of advertisement. There is another gentleman that has a channel called Lisa Cairns Video Clips. It's not run by me, it's run by Osborne. And he just does an amazing job at editing the videos. And he does it all for free. He does it all because of passion, which is so beautiful. And meditation, I think, as well. Like it gets into a meditative state or something. I can't exactly remember his words. But these are all, so it's all edited clips of my talks. So you can subscribe to that channel, and I think he uploads quite regularly. He did tell me he was taking a break, but I saw he was still doing them. So that is called Lisa Cairns Video Clips, and you can also friend him on Facebook, and I think the link is in the box below as well. Not friend him, but like the page or something. Lisa Cairns Video Clips. Yes. Am I still in shot? Oh. I'm still in shot, but no video. There I am! So that was just an example of no me. Wow. It's going to be one of those evenings. Okay. So nice. So now we shall do the sitting in silence. So I hear plop, plop, plop from next door. So if you're not used to sitting in silence, there's different things I can recommend that you do, knowing that everything that I recommend is a description of what can happen and not a prescription to someone, because who would I prescribe to? Who? And basically those prescriptions are, those descriptions of what can happen are, you could do the mindfulness of breathing, which is counting your breath every time you breathe in. And then when you get to number 10, so your 10th breath, you come back to 1 again. So on every in-breath, you count. So that's one exercise that you could do, if you feel like you'd like to do an exercise. And the other one is moving your attention to the I am, or to consciousness. Keep moving your attention back to consciousness or I am. And then also you can just do nothing. You could just sit there and let the mind spin and speak about what it wants to speak about and imagine as you like. I just have an image of my brother stepping out of the way and the fizzy drink going all over my mum. I think me and my dad laughed about that for ages. She says like 2 years later she still finds bits of fizzy drink in the house, the hallway or the kitchen. Oh dear. You can shut the door. I just opened it because of Khaleesi. So good evening. We can start now the talk. So, what was the title again of the talk? Is non-duality dangerous? Bum, bum, bum. Is non-duality dangerous? Everything is always dependent on what you describe as a safe life and what you describe as a dangerous life. So it's dependent on your prerequisitions. I forget the word. As to whether you decide it's dangerous or not. Like, what is it that you want out of life? Like, do you want out of life 3 kids, husband, wife, lots of money, a house? Because if that is a safe life to you, then, and that's the life you want, then maybe non-duality is dangerous. Maybe that isn't sitting as well with non-duality. I'm not saying you can't have that. It could be the experience of non-duality and having that. But non-duality can break down a lot of your belief systems. And if your husband has a belief that the life you want is one of wealth, of prosperity, of showing off, of people seeing, living up to your neighbours or whatever it's called, then maybe non-duality is dangerous, because maybe it will question that life and your beliefs will begin to change, your wants, your desires will begin to change. Also, say if you were both film stars and both really into being famous and really desiring this and wanting this, then maybe non-duality is dangerous to that. So it depends on how you look at the word dangerous, like what is dangerous to you. Some people could see non-duality as safety, because it's like the absolute freedom. It's freedom no matter how much you fuck up. It's freedom no matter what goes right or wrong in your life. So maybe from another person's perspective, it is safety. So I think it's an impossible question to answer. Is non-duality dangerous? It depends on where you start and where you want to end up in the human story. What we can also see, if we really explore non-duality, is that non-duality is beyond all of that, of being dangerous or safe, or helping you or not helping you. But what is it that looks out of the eyes right now? Does that ever move in time with the story? So who you truly are, that which is experiencing, is that ever contained in the story of dangerous or not? Or is that always experiencing that notion, unmoved, unchanged, free, expansive? what happens to us on the human level is we are like robots with all these algorithms in us. So our algorithms are formed through society, through social interactions, and it's also genetically informed as well. So we're all set up particular ways. And when I say robots, it's not like we are really robots, but we're set up in a very mechanical fashion. So scientists begin to discover that when they look for the self or the I or the person that's in charge inside the body, they can't find it. There's no controller that's inside the body. The body is responding to its environment depending on its particular programming. And you could say it's algorithms, because these algorithms are constantly evolving and updating. So whatever you come in contact with, they change and they grow and they expand or they decrease, whatever it is. And we take that to be who we are. We take our algorithm to be who we are. So if you're a quiet person, it's you are quiet. If you're a rich person, you are rich. If you're an old person, you are old. If you're a young person, you are young. So we take ourselves to be these behaviors, and these behaviors are something that's genetic, which genetics go back to the beginning of humanity and the beginning of life, the Big Bang. Our genetics are like this evolution that's happening. And so our genetics, and then it's down to our social conditioning and our cultural conditioning. So maybe you believe you're English or you're French or you're Chinese, or you're clever or stupid, all these different things that we take in to be us. Also our past, you're someone that did this or someone that did that, and we really believe that is us, that is who we are, and that we're inside this machine navigating, and we are choosing. So you think that you're choosing to drink your drink. So say, for example, say if you had two choices, this is apple juice, the bog roll is apple juice, and the tea is tea. And so you have this choice between apple juice, and you're like, oh well, I've had a few teas today, maybe it's better to have some fruit, so some apple juice, and I haven't had any vegetables, that's one of my 5 that I've got to have today, but the apple juice has lots of sugar, so maybe I should have tea. And we think that we're making the choice because this voice in the head is talking about the choice. And then a choice is made, so you pick apple juice, and it comes with this feeling like, I picked it. Whereas actually, the algorithm of choice is that lots of questions are asked in order to update you about what is being chosen, so that the machine can pick the best option. The choices get a little bit like screwed up though, because of the idea that you're choosing. So for a lot of people, choices become too important, and they believe that if they choose wrongly, then they're going to suffer. So, or if they choose right, then they'll get to freedom. And that makes the choice making process a little bit abnormal. But the actual act of choosing is an intelligent way of machines updating themselves. So if you think about an algorithm on the computer, they appear as if they're choosing. So say they, like we ask Siri, what is the best dog walker in my area? And then Siri comes up with a couple of answers. And in that, I know it's like a nanosecond in which she comes up with it, but in that time, she's gone through all the information, all the reviews, to make a choice as to which one to refer to me first. But it's happened really quickly. So she's set up to look through. So she looks up, she most probably looks and thinks, okay, it's got 5 stars. It's closer to her. The distance is closer to her. The person uses lots of positive words in the text, whatever she is programmed to do to make the choice. But she looks at both, just like with the apple juice and the tea, we're looking at both and we're like, okay, this has got 200 calories, this one has got 0 calories. We're looking and we're reading and we're updating the machine, and then Siri finds the one with the most ticks and then suggests it to us. But she doesn't think that she's a separate entity that has free will. We could write that into our computers and then we'll begin to get very funky computers. And maybe it'll improve their algorithm to an extent, but maybe it will also create suffering. But that's what's happening on the human level, is we think that's us, that we're the chooser. And we're choosing because of who we are and what we are. And that is us. And we've got to defend us with all our might. I am a good person. I am a kind person. People like me. All these different types of things we think is who we are and an entity. I can't even remember being like that in society, but I know that like the majority of society is totally lost in that dream of you and choosing. Whereas choice is a functioning. It's not who you are. And so much suffering comes from choice, like you're bad, you're good. These all have relevance, like being told that we've done something bad gives this system an opportunity to rectify that. To be like, oh, this is bad action, this is bad. I can produce something better than that. So it allows the system to do that, but we identify with it and we're like, we are bad, I am bad. And what existential angst to believe that you are somebody, first of all, and that you are bad. Like you aren't a collection of thoughts and ideas and behaviors. These are something that is happening. This is like the sky, it's the wind, it's the breeze, it's the smells, it's a happening, but it's not you and you can't really control it. It appears like you can. So it appears that you can put all this information in and then you can choose, but you're not really choosing. It's always an appearance of choice. So if you do really bad actions and then somebody explains to you how that made other people feel, unless you're a psychopath, you'll begin to take that on board. Okay, so that made those people feel that. How it affects the environment, okay, so the machine gets updated and it changes from that information. But it's not personal. There isn't a me or a you there that is bad. And if you actually looked at everybody's story, like really ironed it out and looked at every detail, you'd really understand it. Even the sociopath, you'd have empathy for it because you'd realize that they cannot be any other way and that this equals this and that equals that. There's nothing that isn't out of line and there's nobody there that's really guilty. That's not saying that we don't take responsibility in the moment for our actions. That's a positive thing for us to do as humans. But it's nobody's responsibility. So we take responsibility. Okay, I crashed into someone's car. I pay for it. I was the one that created the crash. The rules are I pay for it. That is my responsibility. I have a dog called Palisi who's just let off an enormous fart, and it is my responsibility to look after her body. Isn't it easy? To give you your dinner? Yes, yes. When I took on the dog, even though I always say that I didn't take her on, she took me on. She's a street dog from Thailand. When I took her on, it's now my responsibility to look after her. In Thailand, that's not the case. You can take on a dog and it's not necessarily your responsibility to look after them. But my responsibility to feed her, to make sure she doesn't do poo-poo on anybody's lawn, to make sure she doesn't bite anybody or anybody's dog, to exercise her, to give her freedom, to give her good food. That is a responsibility, but it's nobody's responsibility. And I can only do that responsibility dependent on how I've been conditioned in the past. So how my parents were with dogs, how my parents were with me, the way I see the world, where I see boundaries or not boundaries, fair or not fair. And so then from my particular conditioning, that might be that I'm a bad dog owner. And then somebody would come up and then teach me, say, you're a bad dog owner. You need to learn how to be a better dog owner. And if you're open, then you'll take on that advice, or you'll look at that advice and you'll see how that fits with you. And then maybe you improve being a dog owner or a child owner. Maybe you can't call it a child owner, a parent. And that's how we are, and it's nobody's fault. So if you've like realized that you've not brought your children up very well, like there were things that you did that damaged them, it's not your fault. You couldn't have been any other way. But one thing that you could do, which would be so incredibly beautiful, is take responsibility for it now and look at ways in which you can change that now. But it's not your fault. It doesn't mean you don't say sorry to your children, because that would be incredibly healing for them to hear, you take responsibility. Like, I'm sorry. That's such a healing word to say that. So many people are so shy to say I'm sorry. Some people say it too much. But it's so beautiful to say, I am sorry. Yes, 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 yes. I'm going quite quick, aren't I? Speaking quite quickly. So we believe that this person is who we are, but it's not who you are. It's a formation playing. It's like those fractals, you know. Have you ever seen the fractals on YouTube where you just go in and in and in, like our personality structure? You can go such depth of the unconscious. Like, I thought that, you know, after my awakening, I was pretty conscious of the Lisa character. And then 10 years later, I have learned so much about Lisa's unconscious patterning. Like, it goes on infinitely. Like, it really is. When teachers say that if you believe enlightenment is becoming unconditioned or having perfect habits, you will go on infinitely, like fractals, infinitely. Like, it's the way we're set up is infinitely complex. It's never ending. Like, what we are now is a product of everything that's ever been. So it's so complex, our conditioning, and that can get deeper and deeper. I think it's constantly getting deeper and deeper in me. Maybe it's getting shallower and shallower. You can't really tell, but maybe I'm becoming less conscious. I hope not. But that never ends. It's so humbling that you don't ever become enlightened. It's so humbling for me that I don't, on the human level, become enlightened. Like, I've been so humbled over the last 10 years of any area in which there was some slight tendency to feeling like I had it more sorted than others around me, or that I knew what I was talking about. You know, life took that away because it's untrue. We don't know where we are or what we are. We just are. And then there's stuff appearing, and we deal with that in every moment, dependent on our current conditioning. And genetics. Oh, no. Wrong thing. Male, quit. I hope I didn't quit there. No, we're still going. We can go endlessly into ourselves. Like, I know nothing. Like, for an example, today, my poor partner's getting talked about a lot. We went somewhere with Khaleesi, and on the way there, a while back, while my partner was driving, we had a car accident. It wrote one car off, so it wasn't like minor, but it wasn't also bad. Like, it wasn't really bad, but it was just unfortunate the way he hit. But it wasn't like minor, but it wasn't like really bad. So we had this car accident, and then the last like 4 or 5 times, I can't remember how many times it is, that we've been in the car together when I've been driving, the accident was because my partner didn't stop at the junction. So like something was happening where I was looking down, or I didn't quite see it when I wasn't like really stopping at the junction, and so I had to put the brakes on a bit hard. And each time he was like, no, 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 stop, stop. Not so much like that. Today it happened again, and when I'm by myself, I never realize myself doing that, like not stopping at a junction or having to put my brakes on. Or if I do, I'm wiping it from my brain as some sort of safety and protection. And this time it was quite close, apparently. I was looking down at oh, maybe I shouldn't say what I was doing. I wasn't going fast, and I don't think it would have created an accident, but it was quite close, and I had to put the brakes on. You had to say, no, stop! And my response instantly was I would have stopped. I would have seen it and I would have stopped. I always do. There's not a problem. And then I went into, we had to pull over because Khaleesi got agitated. And my response was, you know, this never happens when you're not in the car. You know, is it something that you're thinking? Is it I'm picking up on something in you? Is it that you're saying no, stop too dramatically when it shouldn't be? I can't remember all the things I did. And then as we were driving along, I realized that he began to believe in some way it was his thought. And then I kind of found it funny, and I just thought how ridiculous. And I just realized that like I was like there was some defense in me that was protecting myself, because I do so much driving around Europe that I was protecting myself from accepting that I'd made a mistake. Like, so then I just laughed and I said, oh, don't worry, it's me. And we laughed. I'm also open to the fact that there could be some other magical release happening between us. Like, it's bizarre that it keeps happening when he's in the car. But like, just like I could see that defense, it didn't even feel uncomfortable. It's just something that appears in us as humans, and it passes. And this will, to me, go on endlessly. We're always going to find these things in ourselves, because we can't ever find the truth in time. We can't ever find the truth in what we say as stories. All we can do is we can feel when there's a defense there. We can feel when there's agitation in what we say, but we don't know what the truth is. And like, I don't want him thinking it's his fault, because it's not his fault, or that he'd done something wrong, because he hadn't done something wrong. But it updated both of our machines, like for me realizing that there was some sort of defense going on, because I do so much driving, it wasn't like I was angry, like, no, I never make a mistake. It's more like, no, I would have stopped. I trust myself as a driver. Like, I would have stopped, I would have. And for him, like his feeling that he'd done something wrong. I forgot where I was going there. But it's all stories, and it's all something that we can go ever deeper in. We'll endlessly have dynamics. And I can see it from some spiritual teacher. They can easily, like, always say, oh, I'm feeling your energy, or I'm picking up on your energy. Even people, not spiritual teachers, but people that are into spirituality. And in the end, we don't know. That could be, but we don't know. We don't know what we are or how it's happening. Like, it's so humbling, this subject. Nobody becomes enlightened. So even if somebody says they are enlightened and they said, yes, no, it's definitely the other person's energies that's doing all of this, that doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean you have to believe them. That's just a perspective that's coming out of this moment. We sometimes get into this mentality, oh, you've got to listen to everything the teacher says. But it's really like a dynamic from childhood. Like, you've got to listen to what the mother says. The mother is right, or the father is right, or the fear of having your own opinion, the fear of being wrong. All of us are wrong and right. We don't know truth. We just know this moment and what's appearing in this moment and the feelings. And I could feel there was part of me that didn't want to acknowledge that I make a mistake when driving, not out of arrogance, but because I do so much driving. I just didn't want to think that that could be a possibility, that I'd make so many mistakes. More out of fear of driving. Because when I drive, I totally let the unconscious drive, like I'm not in control, like the unconscious is doing it. Like I'm not consciously thinking about what I'm doing, and I just go into this way of totally trusting my unconscious driving skills. It's constantly humbling, this path, when you really see it for what it is, that you are no thing, and we're never going to know who's right or wrong, or what's dangerous or what's not dangerous. We just know what's happening and our feelings in this moment. And it's all speculation putting it into stories. I can also see how somebody who has like weak boundaries and has really dominant parents could use that teaching and could use what I'm saying now to never assert themselves, or never stand up for themselves, or always be the guilty or bad one. Like I can see how it goes infinitely, like in all directions of possibilities and conditions. Like there's never an enlightened person. And some people like to say, you're speaking without an ego. I am not speaking without an ego. How could you do that? Depends how you say an ego is. Like for me, the ego, I'm talking about the personality structure. Everybody is talking through a personality structure. There might not be the claiming that that personality structure is you. And some people might call that mechanism the ego, but like Ramesh Balsekar and Roger, they don't. The ego is a positive thing. It's like the character. So everything is coming out of the character. It is coming from nothingness. It is coming from consciousness, but it goes through the filter of the character. And that character is always going to have bias dependent on the way it's set up. So the answer to is non-duality dangerous. It's dependent on where you look from, dependent where you see that from. Mm-hmm. So who are you now? What is free? The character is algorithms. It will have biases, it will have ways of being, it will have traumas, it will have schemas, it will have expanded ideas, beautiful ideas, but it's an algorithm that's playing. You could call that the ego. That's what Roger and Ramesh call it, playing. But that's not the freedom. Yes, the personality structure and the ego will change, and when you're open to this subject, you're more than likely open to expanding that algorithm and growing that algorithm, because it's such a beautiful thing to do, and it's very respectful to your neighbors to do that and to your family. But that endlessly expands. And then what is it that's looking at that? Who's experiencing now? Who hears my voice? Who looks out of the eyes? Who's experiencing? The character, the ego, the personality structure is not experiencing. It is a filter which is filtering life. It's like the senses, it's the thoughts, it's the way in which our eyes see. It's the way in which our ears hear. This filters it, and then who experiences? And then there's a little voice inside that's like, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm right, I'm wrong. And who experiences that? It's being seen, so it's not the seer. Something is seeing that. So the fact that it appears means there's something beyond that. Who is it that's experiencing now? Who? And that which is experiencing isn't behind or in front. It isn't located anywhere. You say behind because it's just like a way of using language, but it's everywhere. It's not separate from the sounds of my voice. It's not separate from the sight of me. It's not separate from the room. And it's here. It's ever present. It's this moment. It's not moving in time. Who you are doesn't move. What you're not moves. What you're not comes and goes. But what you truly are doesn't move. It's here, watching, always. And then the room changes, the people change, the sounds change, experiences change, your personality changes, your dynamics change, your character change, the voice in your head changes. But looking and the sense of being do not change. That mystery, that no thing, which is everything, does not change. It is no place and every place, no thing and all things. It is here. And this is your freedom. You can't find freedom in something that's always moving. You can become more free on the human level, that you can improve your dynamics and become more free. You can become more free in relationships, but you can't ever become something because everything is always changing and you're evolving. You're never standing still. Everything is moving like a kaleidoscope, like fractals, ever deeper into the same, ever deeper into same. But who you are is right here, watching, unmoved, unfazed, love, total love, unconditioned love. It doesn't move. Everything that happens, it loves, good or bad. The fizzy drinks popping and going all over the roof, or the dropping of the dog food. It's absolutely embraced. The human might not like it. The human might find that painful. But on the ultimate level, it is free. The ultimate doesn't reject that. All of that is the divine. So what's looking now is totally empty. What's experiencing now is empty. The body has reactions. So there's emptiness. I go into the kitchen and the dog food is dropped everywhere, and then there's pain in the body, but the looking is empty. The experiencing is empty. And maybe I get grumpy about it, or maybe I tell my boyfriend off or my partner off because he's done it wrong or something, which is unlikely because just cleaned it up, but just says, for example, I'm trying to describe something painful. The emptiness is still free. The emptiness is still there looking, but the body is having its grumpy reaction. Me. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I saw you, Lisa. Drop it. No, I didn't. I would be a good driver. I don't make mistakes. I know I make mistakes as driving, but I can feel that there's like a layer that's like, I didn't make a mistake. And it's some sort of protection around my fear around driving. I drive so much, and sometimes it can be a little scary, like doing these epic journeys all by myself. In countries where you don't speak the language or where the roads are slightly different. And the fact that I grew up and learned on the other side of the road. And every country in Europe is different at driving, different rules. Okay, you can ask questions now, after my big monologue that went on nearly 40 minutes. Wow. Yeah, so if you have any questions, my Skype address is lisacairns12, and you are super welcome to ask whatever you like on there. I might not answer everything. And if you want me to call you, I'd really appreciate speaking with someone. Then please call me. I would appreciate that, because I just feel more at the moment to take calls. But you can write a question as well, as you like. Hi, Christopher. Good evening. Hi, Carola. Yeah, I fixed it, obviously, now. Hello, Lisa. It's so lovely to see you. Hi, Anu. Lovely to see you as well. I bet it's really beautiful in your cabin now in the forest with all the trees letting go of their leaves. Hey, Lisa, your microphone might be plugged in the wrong way again. Oh. My sound is popping every now and then. Oh, hello. Hello? Hello? Oh yeah, I've put it down. Oh, that's a shame. Sorry, guys, for the popping. Pop, pop, pop. Hi, Lisa. Algorithm. That sounds predictive more than descriptive. How about vibration as choice? I see you are talking about fractals and their algorithms, but we are human and have vibrations. Yes, vibrations, energies versus algorithm formulas. Thanks, Dennis of Kentucky. Yeah, we have vibrations as well, but we're also like patterns. Like if you looked, I think, from bird's eye perspective, I think we'd look more like patterns than vibrations. But yeah, sure, we're also vibrations. But I don't know what that's got to do with algorithms. Does it sound too like scientific or sci-fi? Yeah, maybe you need to be a little bit more specific with the question. I'm not sure what that means. Thank you for the question, Dennis. Hi, Thomas. Lovely to see you here. Hi, Isabel Graham. Isabel Graham. Love you, Lisa. I love you, Isabel. Thank you. Hi, Matthew. Hey, Lisa. I would like a call if you are free. Sure. Okay, just let me get my headset in and okay, where did I put it? Lucy's looking at me like, you're moving the pillow, woman. I had it, I was showing it to you guys. Was ist das? Oh, Khalees is laying on it. Khalees, did you want to be on there too? Is that what it is? Did you want to be on there too? Ali, e, ooh, ah, ooh, ooh. from you.
You remember me?
Yeah, I do remember you. Could I just get you to turn off your video just because of my internet capabilities? Yeah, I do. And I spoke to someone recently, and I've completely forgotten who it was, that met you in like Thailand or somewhere, and you really inspired them.
Yeah, I think you talked to my friend Brian.
Yeah.
He's a good man. Yeah.
I can't remember in what context, if I did a one-to-one session or if it was on live on. I just remember that, and I remember that connection.
Yeah, he's a legend. He's a good man.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, he told me. I'm so happy to speak to you.
Yeah, really
Beverly
nice
Hills,
to speak with you.
Beverly
Yeah.
Hills, those are the days.
Yeah. So you back in America now, or you in Thailand?
Similar. I had to leave Thailand for the visa thing, so I escaped to Vietnam, and then I don't know if you heard, there was this like virus thing that went around, and
Yeah.
So here I am.
And you've been in Thailand the whole time?
I've been for a while, yeah. Thailand, and now I'm in Vietnam since the virus, and nothing really to do.
Yeah. And they're okay with tourists? I had a friend that was in, I think it was Vietnam, and they left because they felt like it was, like a lot of the locals were uncomfortable and maybe like a bit afraid of white people because they thought it came from the white people.
I did experience possibly my first like racism, I guess I could call it, against me.
Yeah.
Feeling like these people genuinely, but I forgive them and understand. But they definitely were skeptical of white people for sure, any foreigners in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was strange. But no, we're still allowed here, and I don't know, America, I don't know. I got a surfboard, so doing that,
nice.
trying to stay connected to the ocean.
Nice.
Despite the whatever's going on.
Yeah. Oh, nice. That's great to hear from you. And whereabouts in Thailand were you?
Copenhagen.
Oh, nice. That's where my dog's from.
Yeah. Oh, really? I had a dog for a while. She was a sweetheart. Someone adopted her. Like I kind of adopted her, but didn't like fully adopt her, and put a chain on her or a collar. And then one day she didn't show up, and someone else snagged her and officially adopted her. So,
nice. Yeah.
But I was thinking about you when I had the dog for a while. I was like, me and Lisa were,
And you're in Sitanu? I've forgotten.
Yeah. I was in the wacky mixture of mysticism and tantra and plant medicines. And
I heard the tantra school closed down though. They had a big scandal again.
The biggest one, yes, they had a big scandal. But they still are open and people still go.
Oh yeah.
But they have a scandal, yeah. They did have a scandal.
I think they had scandals in the past. Like I think they had quite a few.
They're really playing with fire, everything over there, with the tantra and the plant medicine and the beaches and the tourism, and it's just like, so many things can go wrong.
Yeah.
Both like actually and also perceivably, like people are going through, interesting experiences there.
Yeah.
But Vietnam's a little more chill. I'm a little bit more basic. Just trying to, what do you call it? Embody the presence in day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And that's a nice thing for me, I think.
Yeah. And there are many tourists there, or are you pretty by yourself as a tourist?
Well, I'm always alone, even though if I'm in a crowd. But no, there's tourists for sure. I stay around the tourists, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, generally, yeah, tourists and surfers, the local surfers, the tourist surfers, and playing music, getting myself on some stages, playing some music, playing some bass.
Nice.
So that's been my trying to expand my personality structure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had one question I've been meaning to ask you,
Oh,
or
yeah.
ask someone who I respect, and
Yeah.
you are my go-to.
Nice.
So I spent the last like 3 years basically obsessed with this concept of it has a variety of different terms. They call it like the sacred secretion within is one way of turning. It goes back to like early Christian Gnosticism. Could also call it like the Christ oil within.
Uh-huh.
It's this idea that basically once a month you have like a cosmic energy in your stomach. That's what they call like the birth of the Christ inside. And I've been mapping it. And for me, it's like as clear as day. It happens every month. And like on day 3, when the Christ is supposed to like be born, that's like the mythology behind it too. I always have like this huge like DMT rush, and I listen to one of your talks or someone's talks, and it's just like, wow, like this makes perfect sense to me right now. Like it's really like it's like tripping on acid or mushrooms or something, but like so clear and like it's there. And then it goes away after a few days, but then it's always like, and so for me, this has been like I'm like, this is the combination between like what you can do to receive the grace, which you can't force the grace, but if you do follow the moon cycle and live a relatively righteous life in these upcoming days during this period, I also like I'm kind of calling it the male period. I only share it with a handful of people like here and there, but people are like, wow, that's interesting. And so I'm just wondering if have you heard of anything like this? Do you know of anything like this?
No.
Obviously, this is still like this is very much in the world of the person.
Yeah.
You know,
But I've never heard of it before. I've heard a lot of other things. Is it a book that you got this from, or did you come across it yourself?
I came across it on the internet, but I immediately was like the sky parted, and I was like, this is what I've been like looking for.
Yeah.
Like it was like some article on in5d.com. They called it like the secret story never told.
Yeah.
And they claim that like the Bible is basically like a coded word for this like internal process that happens. And like the seed of Christ is born in Bethlehem, which is your stomach. And every month I feel it, and like all of a sudden, even if I like forget to pay attention, like all of a sudden I'm like, whoa. And like I have zero hunger, and like all my general like lusty party like frat bro type of attitude just like goes away. And I just like am like super introverted and happy. Like now that I know about it, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Like I get real excited, and I eat like lentil soup, and I'm drinking green tea and meditating all day. And then day 3 happens, and I have like the huge like, so it's supposed to like rise up your spine and then get crucified in your brain for 2.5 days and then rise again. And that's when you have like this big DMT explosion. And it happens to be every single month, like without fail. And I'm just like, this is, why doesn't everyone, and there are some people who know about it. I have 2 Facebook pages, Christ Oil Calendar and Sacred Secretion Tracker, and they each have a couple hundred likes now. Like, so definitely people have been reading about this and hearing about it. I'm not actively like, I just kind of post some astrology calendars, and I'm not actively trying to like tell people how to live their life or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's
Yeah.
fascinating. And I was
Yeah,
wondering if
it sounds
any,
fascinating. I've never heard of it, and I I don't know too much about any of that. Is it to do with the moon cycle?
Yeah. Yeah. So the idea is when the sun, when the moon is in your sun sign, that's that's the period. I think it works better with sidereal astrology than Western astrology.
Mm.
It's only like a day or two off with the Western, but with the sidereal, um, yeah, and that's when it happens, and it's like the story of. There's tons of quotes. Like there's like a Nisargadatta quote
Mm-hmm.
that I love. It's like fluids mix and the I am appears. When I read that, I was just like, oh, like the Christ oil, like this is it, like. And during like the 3 days when you're in this time, like all like the 7 deadly sins are very important. Like you don't want to eat meat, you don't want to be drunk, you don't want to have sex, especially like lustful sex. You don't want to be like angry, you don't want to and that's like honoring the seed, and you don't want to be too acidic. And yeah, if the seed doesn't get wasted and destroyed, it goes up your spine. And I can feel it personally. Like I'm technically a Cancer, born in July, so we're like the most moody people. So it would make sense why I notice it more than other people per se. But still, it's like, to me, it's as clear as day. And sometimes I'll just like randomly have a friend who's like, oh, I don't feel like eating today, and I'll just be like, what's your birthday? And I'll like, is your birthday in February or something? They're like, yeah, why? And I'm like, oh yeah, well, like sometimes I like randomly a little party trick, um, but like I'm seeing, like, I don't know, yeah, but
Nice. Oh wow,
yeah,
that sounds really cool. But I have no ability to chime in because I don't know anything about it.
okay,
I've never
uh,
heard of it, and I don't have any experience of that. But I think that whatever you're attracted to and whatever resonates for you is your path. Like there's no one path. There's no like unique path. That's going to fit everyone. Everyone has their own way of being and their own experience of this thing called life. Like who knows the way in which this life is appearing? Like it could be that we've all got our own realities. Like so we're all in the matrix, but we're all seeing our own dream. Like well, obviously we're all seeing our own dream, but our dreams are all completely different. Like we've got one that's like in a world with fairies and gnomes, and then you've got another person that's in like a computer world, and all of these worlds mix and match, but we're all experiencing something completely different. We just don't know. We have
yeah,
we know, like quantum physics says that everything, like particles are in all possibilities, and they only become something once they're looked at. So once consciousness rests on them. So how we have no clue how this is all appearing. We have lots of theories about it. So I think if something makes your heart glow and something inspires you, then I think that's a great place to follow.
right, yeah. In one of our lives, Donald Trump is sent to save children from cages, and
Yeah.
in another person's reality, he's just a typical narcissistic personality disorder,
Yeah.
maniac.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Perfect. Wow. Well, I'm so happy I got to talk to you. I thought
Yeah.
of some Osho quotes with the title of your talk, because he
Yeah.
would say things like that, I feel like, a lot. I couldn't find the exact quote that I wanted to share, but I found one.
Yeah, go for it.
You have come to me. You have taken a dangerous step. It is a risk, because near me you can be lost forever.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, so much love. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Lucy.
thanks man for calling.
I listen to you all the time, and I'm
Oh,
not too
nice.
time,
Oh,
but
nice.
I still same as before, how I found the retreat on my way to bed. I got a few people I listen to, but yeah, you're always my go-to. I think I've listened to everything you got. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm always
nice.
listening.
Oh, that's
Cheering you
beautiful
on.
to hear from you. Yeah.
Cheering all on.
Thanks, Matt. Speak to you again soon.
Thank you, Lisa. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, we met at a retreat many monsoons ago. Many years ago. I don't know why I said monsoons. Many years ago. In LA. Yes, Isabel was there. Isabel. Do you remember Matt, Isabel? Hey, Nick. Hi, Carmela. Lots of love and gratitude to you, Lisa. Lots of love to you. So that's it. There's no more questions. I've been doing this for so many years that I've answered every possible question in every variation. And everyone's like, done. So, yeah, we can either sit in silence, or if anyone's got anything that they thought they should not ask, maybe they could ask it. But even though you think it's your choice, it's actually not your choice whether you do it or not. It just feels like it. It will either happen or not happen. Brain, Casey, can I call in? Yes. Bum, bum, bum.
Hey,
Hello.
Lisa. Wait, let me turn the sound off for the video.
Yeah, thanks. Just one sec.
You can hear me?
I can hear you, and just let me make sure that you are all in. Could you just say something?
Yes. Hello.
Perfect. You are in.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm Matt's friend, actually.
Oh, we're who spoke. Did we do a session together?
No, I was at the retreat with Siddhartha.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I spoke
Yes,
about
I
Matt
know
there.
who you are. Oh, yeah. So that's, I couldn't remember. Like, so when Matt said that, I couldn't remember where the connection was from.
Yeah, you meet so many people. Yeah.
Yeah,
for
nice.
sure.
Oh, that's a interesting coincidence that you're the next caller.
Oh, it's probably not a coincidence. We actually talked about it before.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh, Lisa's on, and he was like, yeah, I might ask a question. I was like, oh, I might too, you know. So, yeah. But yeah, I guess I don't really have a clear-cut question. I guess I just kind of wanted to talk to you. I think my question is like, what it feels like in my life right now is that there's sort of like stuckness happening. Like it feels like energetic stuckness, but also just like in the movement of my life. I can actually feel it right now, like energetically. I remember, if you remember, like my throat chakra was like acting up like at the retreat. Yeah, but it's also in like the stomach. So I'm having a bit of trouble like getting that like energy like moving. And it feels like my energy body feels quite dense. Especially during the silent sitting a few minutes or 45 minutes or so ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm having a bit of trouble with like, I remember your take on like, I think when I asked you questions was like, it's important for you to do body stuff to like keep the energy moving and such. So it seems like I'm struggling a bit with that. And yeah. So
what does your day-to-day life consist of? Like, you feel stuck in your day-to-day life as well, or is it?
Yeah.
Are you still in Amsterdam? And
I'm still in Amsterdam. I'm chilling with my brothers in my family's apartment, and kind of like a lazy lifestyle. Like when I came back from the retreat, there was like a sense of wonder and sort of and I really felt like following the sense of wonder, and then like that seemed to fall away or get covered up, or and it was like the heart really wanted to express. And it was, at first it was with very simple things like, oh, I feel like playing the guitar. Like that seems like I really want to learn this song. And I was like following that. And then as I was like interacting with my brothers, I don't know, like something, I fell back in like old patterns. And so it seems like what I'm kind of believing is like that my freedom and like happiness and, you know, letting the heart speak depend on like me being having my life circumstances together or making the right choices or
What happens to us is that so you go back to your family and you go back to what's familiar, and you begin to act out your familiar patterns with them. And that's okay, that's not actually a problem. So you'll have a particular dynamic with each member of your family, and your character in a way will have been partly created at school and outside of the family, but your character will also have been largely formed by the family. So the way that your family interacts with you. So say if you're the role of the scapegoat in the family. So say if when you were growing up, this is just an example to make it extreme so people can see what I'm trying to say. So say if you, from a very young age, your parents, maybe you're a bit different from your siblings, and your parents began to blame you for things. So if there was spilt milk in the kitchen, then they would be like, Brian, was that you? And they would always put you down, not consciously, more unconsciously, but it's like they would scapegoat you, like things would become your fault. And say if you're a bit different at school, then suddenly they would pick up on that and highlight it, and it would become more of a thing. And then you drop out of university. I know that you did that recently. And then it becomes a big thing. And there's like this dynamic in the family. This is just an example where you're a scapegoat. And nobody's really conscious of the games that are happening in the family because it's so complex that people spend years in therapy trying to understand family dynamics. But when you go back to your family, then I'm sure you take on that role and you take on what they see. And then you do your regular responses. You defend against it, you push away, you become very passive, whatever it is that you, the way that you defend against it.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you kind of become this character, and then there's a seeking to try to avoid certain things and try to get to certain things. But it all happens very subtly. It's all happening unconsciously.
Yeah,
so you go back, all that. And you become someone with them. So this is your regular way of being because you spent so much time with your family. And then you create this seeking energy that doesn't want to feel the pain of it, because there's lots of painful interactions that happen with humans, partly because like society as a whole is very unconscious, and there's lots of weird games going on, and people believe that they're separate entities with free will and choice that is walking around. So there's lots of odd things that we do to each other, and not very nice things that we do to each other, and also nice things as well. And we're not honest. So when somebody hurts our feelings, we're not honest. What might come up is rage towards them or hate towards them. But really what's happening in the moment is I feel really vulnerable now. Like what you said made me feel very vulnerable. And we're not honest and genuine. We tell these lies, this rage and this anger, and then we get stuck in this identity of the rage and the anger. Like, my brother's such an asshole, I hate him, he's such a pain in the ass. And then we kind of create this identity of you're superior to this person, but really underneath it is this vulnerability. And this is happening all the time in family dynamics. And this is why, like they say, you know, if you go back and you maintain peace with your family or something, then you're truly enlightened. Or a psychologist would say, you know, if you manage to go back to your family and stay true to yourself for at least half an hour, then that means that you're pretty free of your dynamics. Just half an hour. So it's really like intensive going back to the family and like staying true and integral to yourself. Being true and integral to yourself is not enlightenment. But what happens if you're identified is when you're not being integral, you're constantly making up lies about yourself, things that aren't true, and living in stories and fantasies about who you are and what others are. Like, I hate them, or they're such a pain in the ass, or they did this to me, or she did that to me. And these things aren't necessarily true. And there's lots of mental activity that is based around that. And then what happens when there's lots of seeking that happens and that appears and manifests is our energy body closes down. So we become very contracted. So we firstly get like uncomfortable sensations in our body, and then we contract, and then there's what I would call suffering that appears. And then from that suffering, it's hard to know what you want or don't want, because everything kind of feels uncomfortable. It's kind of hard to find the inspiration or know when you want to play the guitar or don't want to play the guitar.
Yeah, it's like it's tough to be like open-hearted, or like there's not enough trust for that.
Yeah.
But then there's blame. Yeah, there's blame towards my family, or towards, it's really only my brother and his girlfriend. But yeah, I could feel like when I came back, I was out of money, so I would have stayed like somewhere else, but because I really got the sense that would have been better. But
Yeah.
I could feel like the games are gonna come back, and like the same games they're gonna try to play the same dynamics with me, and like, you know, I see it now clearly, like that I don't want that, and but it happened anyway.
Yeah, it is really hard, especially when people aren't into this subject. But you can sometimes change it to an extent by trying to be as honest as you can. So if they say something and you feel a big reaction, like try to see underneath that, like what it does. Most of the time it makes us feel vulnerable or afraid or not good enough. And trying to express that to people in a really honest way can have a huge impact. But I know it's complex. Like I struggle to maintain being genuine around certain family members. Like it's not the easiest thing to do, because they're in a very different world, and they've got a very strong idea maybe about you or who you are or what you've done to them. So.
Yeah, I suppose maybe at the core of it, it's just like fear of being judged or seen a certain way or perceived as weak, or you know, open to attack if I'm vulnerable. But
and so throat. So the sacral chakra, that is fear, anxiety, feeling like you're not able to look after yourself. Like, so the sacral is about work, like feeling stable, feeling like you can look after yourself, you can work, you can produce. And it's also sexuality as well. And then the throat chakra is about expression. So not being honest, not being able to say what you want, what you need, what you don't want, being able to express yourself, being heard.
Yeah, these are the current issues in my life, I guess. There's negativity around those as well and such. So I guess everything shows up for a reason, but like totally. There's like something wants to fix it, you know?
And the body is so kind. Like it's telling you what your issues are by having pain in the throat and in the sacral chakra. So that's all happening. So there's also, so you can also see, so there's that's happening, and then you can also see that there's something that's watching that. So there's something that knows that's happening, and that's always free. But when these energies are tight, so when the energies in the chakra are tight, it can feel like your consciousness and who you are and those energies are all one thing. So you feel like really condensed into those energies. You feel that it's a small person that's not good enough, that can't speak out. That's not conscious normally, that's normally unconscious. But maybe you're conscious of it. And it becomes really narrow who you are. But so you don't actually have to fix the feelings in your body. But that I suggest that you do, because it will make your life better and easier. And when they're really tight, there's lots of seeking, which makes you feel very small. But you don't actually have to fix them, because if you really like pay attention to what's happening now, you'll see that who you truly are is consciousness, and that's free. Like consciousness isn't bound into that. Like who you are isn't this story of Brian that has messed up or not messed up or should work or shouldn't work or can say something or can't say something. Who you are is that which is watching now, which is the sound of my voice, which is the room, which is the space. And that's inherently free and expansive. And it holds everything. It holds your siblings' judgments. It holds your insecurity or vulnerability. When there's lots of seeking going on, though, that feels like it's contained and stuck to the person. So it feels like the person is conscious and the person is suffering and the person is experiencing. Whereas who you truly are now isn't a thing. It's not a thought, it's not a dynamic, it's not a behavior, it's not a story. It's not your relationship with your brother. It's not their disapproval, their like.
And so allowing these like energies to open or integrate is beneficial for allowing this understanding to land, right?
Most probably. Like, I mean, I can't guarantee anything. In the end, I don't know. I'm just here. I'm just present. But from the experience and from what's been learned, and my sort of intuition is that when you're deeply suffering, there's lots of seeking and there's lots of focus on time. So relaxing that relaxes the timeline, relaxes the seeking, and then there is more of a possibility or more of an openness to this message. Like, so if I think about a family member of mine, like they're not into the subject, and like some of them are really like deeply suffering and struggling with life, like they're so concerned about their problems and the stress of their everyday, that to say to them, you know, this moment is beauty, this moment has freedom inherently in it, would be patronizing and condescending to them, and they would most probably feel angry about that. So you can see that relaxing these types of dynamics, relaxing what most people are constantly stuck in a loop about, you know, money and love, when that's more relaxed, then there's the possibility to really hear that nothing is looking now. There is nobody that's looking. So the person that feels like it's looking out of your eyes is an illusion. That person is a play happening in the dream. So that person is, so if you're sitting in a film, like in a cinema, and you're watching a film, you're the audience member watching a film, that person is a film playing. And what's happened is you as the audience member believe that you are now the film. So you believe that you're the character in the film, rather than that which is watching the film. And that which watches the film loves everything, like every part of it. It loves the dramas, the tragedies, the beauty, the orgasms, the travelling, the staying still. It's totally hypnotized by its own beauty of watching. And it's unconditioned love. It loves everything. You could say it's God. But then what happens when there's lots of seeking is the consciousness becomes lost in the dream and believes it's a character, a singularity in the dream, and then suffering arises in the dream for the person.
Yeah, it's like it feels like a dull, like hypnosis, sort of like
Yeah, it is.
And then the person tries to get out of it, and it just kind of reinforces everything.
Yeah, it goes around in itself to get out of the dream. The best that you can do on the human level is looking at your illusions, looking at your dynamics. If this is what happens, like you don't have the choice really. You appear to have the choice, but looking at the dynamics and settling down the person, and then at the same time continuously recognizing there's something that's watching. There's something else here that's free. So listening to that message, or putting your attention back into consciousness, you know, listening to non-duality, like, so recognizing that again and again and again. And then at the same time, like calming the person down, seeing your dynamics, seeing your discomfort with the work at the moment, of future, of family, of your position in the family, of not feeling good enough or feeling judged. And just relaxing that energy through body work, through Osho breathing, like chakra breathing. There's so much stuff happening in Amsterdam. And if you haven't got money for it, there's always training. Like, so I used to go to acupuncture, like the training acupuncture center. So the trainees that were finishing their 3-year degree in acupuncture, and then I'd go there as like a specimen to be tested, like for them to try and practice on. So these types of things you can do, like Osho chakra meditation is on the internet. You might have to have Apple.
Yeah, I've
music.
done this a few times.
Yeah,
it's on Spotify as well. Yeah. So there needs to be some kind of like, well, if there's some kind of consistency to this, then there can be opening on the energetic level. But I notice, like, if I just follow the old patterns, which doesn't feel very good, then it just kind of like stays there, and then like you fall into like victim role or something like that.
And that's really great, recognizing that, because that will change something. So you recognize that following the old patterns doesn't work. So there needs to be a new way. The old patterns feel familiar, and they feel like comfortable in a way because you've done them so many times.
It feels very dead.
Yeah, it might feel dead, but it feels comfortable to do it. So, it feels comfortable maybe now to go and speak to your brother in a certain way. It maybe feels dead, but it's more comfortable than trying something new or challenging it, or going and doing chakra breathing, or joining a chat group about this subject, or
things. And it's funny because, like, if I wouldn't have gone to this house and wouldn't have gone back to these dynamics physically, maybe this is the person like trying to say like, oh, like if it would have been different, if I could get things differently, then it'd be better, or I'd be energetically more sound, or be able to open up more.
Yeah, and that's an unknown thing. We just know what's here, and we can speculate, but we just know what's here, and that's kind of like going to create suffering more than likely, thinking about what you could have or would have or should have done. You can speculate about it, so in the future you make a different decision, but then it's kind of useless to think about that you've got now, and what is it that's happening now. And the mind runs off on coulda, shoulda, might have, and likes to make a big suffering story about it, or tell you you've done something wrong, or that life is wrong. And then you can go deeper in what is it that I feel underneath that. I feel afraid. I feel like I don't know how to live my life. I'm not sure I can rely on my own choices. So that's a really interesting thought, because the body's got to make choices, so it appears to make choices, but sometimes the personality structure can feel like it doesn't know if it can rely on it, which can be taught by your family. Your parents might have always told you off when you were growing up, telling you you're making the wrong decision, and then you become a person that doesn't rely on their own choices, and so is always in doubt and insecurity. So it's just seeing that. So that's not true. That's not truth that my choices are bad. It's not truth that I'll make mistakes. It's something that's appearing in this body, giving this life a certain drama or a certain experience. So that's just a thought that the human's having. So that's not true. So what is it that you are beyond that? That you keep going back and back and back. So you're not somebody that makes bad choices. You're not somebody that's small. We get like these energies come up, so we see our family and we feel like there's someone that's made bad choices, and then our energy shuts down, and then the sort of stories run, like if I should have done that, if I could have done this, if I did do that, and then we believe that to be true, and we spend like the next 2-3 days thinking about that, or the next 10 years thinking about that. And what's beyond that? Underneath it, it's a child that was conditioned to believe that it was a bad child, which is a lie. It's not who you are. It's a conditioning in the body. So who you are right now is this moment, and that's all you ever have. So it's like moving your attention back to that which you are. So seeing the stories for what they are, seeing the conditions for what they are, and then coming back to something deeper. They don't have to leave, but it's just seeing them for what they are, and not spending 10 years lost in the story of it.
Yeah.
and seeking to resolve it in some way.
Yeah, therapy. And so,
and all this stuff that I'm saying about you, when I come up with these things, like if I was doing a 1-to-1 session with you, I've said this to you in the retreat,
Germany.
I would try to get you to explore a lot more of what you're feeling. I'm just speculating. I'm not even like assuming that's what you feel. I'm just saying whatever comes to mind. So it's not you. I'm not saying your dynamics. It's not like, listen, now Lisa's pointed out all my dynamics. I'm just speaking, just to give people an idea, because there's other people listening to this of what I mean. But if it was just you and me, then I would go deeper into what it is you feel and see that it's not true, and then see when it's manifesting and when you're lost in that story. So it manifests when I try to look for a new job. I keep thinking I'm bad, or I should have, I might have, or I'll make a mistake. So then seeing that and then bringing your attention back to presence, like, that's not true. I'm not going to make a mistake. It's not going to be a disaster.
Yeah, there's like a lack of trust in the moment, or like a lack of trust of like following that natural sort of joy, I think.
Yeah, that's conditioned. Schooling or your parents will have conditioned you in that way, and it's just, and it's also genetic as well. So it's also from past lives or karma, whatever you want to call it. But it's not a truth. It's a phenomena that's arising now in the dream, and who you are is this vast spaciousness that's unaffected. That's who you are. And then you've got the Brian character that's playing out in that. That's trying, and there's an energy that's trying to like suck that consciousness into that Brian character and make you the experiencer, you as Brian the experiencer, you as Brian as the controller, you as Brian as the doer.
Yeah, it feels like oppressing like the joy and wonder.
As the center of the world. Whereas Brian is something that's happening in the dream. Who you are is unaffected by the dream. It's the whole entire dream, but unaffected by the dream. It's free. It's this stillness, this spaciousness that's right here. It's this detachment from the personality structure. This letting go of the personality structure. And then the personality structure, more than likely, if it's been conditioned for 20, 30, 40 years, that it makes bad choices, more than likely there'll be pain around choices the whole entire time. But it won't be you anymore. And it won't go into the suffering realms that it did before of your bad choices, your mistakes, what you should have done, what you could have done. It won't be lost in this matrix of you.
And there's nothing to be done about like that letting go. That just like kind of happens.
Yeah, everything just kind of happens. I mean, we just don't know anything. We're just here, and there's just everything, and it's a big mystery. And we've got theories on it as humans as to, and those theories were based on the way in which we survived in the past. Like, our language is based on survival and what's the best way of surviving. And then we make theories about our environment, about our situation, about our life, dependent on something, or dependent on that.
Yeah.
And it's not true at all. We're just here suspended in the middle of nothing, experiencing. It's so vulnerable, it's so empty, it's so vast. It's total not knowing your true essence. Right here. The character knows, but the wise character knows it knows nothing. So the character thinks it knows things. It thinks it knows that it's in Netherlands. But then the wise character also realizes, I know nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing.
Yeah, that feels a lot more true.
Mm.
And like simultaneously, I could feel like the character like tries to hold on and out of fear.
Yeah, it's terrified of not being anything. To really let go into the like, who would you be? What would your family think of you? What would you do?
Yeah, it's like the character wants to know like how to apply this, and like, but that doesn't feel true either. That also feels like,
yeah,
It's kind of, yeah. Maybe
Kind of,
feels.
it wants to hold on to something. It wants some security, and that's okay. Like it wants to know where to go, but just see your true essence doesn't know where to go. Your true essence is just watching, just experiencing now, not knowing anything. And then the character is like, okay, which way? Left or right? Up or down?
Yeah. Well, I have a session with you on the 10th of October, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
oh,
so
nice.
I was only able to afford the one. I think there were like 2 dates available.
Yeah. Do you know, I thought about doing something like, because unfortunately in Europe we pay a lot of taxes, so I can't make sessions that much cheaper. So
Yeah.
I thought about like putting something on the website about sponsorship, like people sponsoring people for sessions. You know, like
What?
so if you wanted sessions, like you get a sponsor. I do this for retreats and it works. Like that people sponsor other people to go on the retreat.
Okay. It's like kind
Yeah.
of like a scholarship type of deal.
Yeah.
If you're like
Yeah.
low on cash. Yeah.
Yeah, so the people that like have more money and feel like this is beneficial can sponsor other
Yeah.
people to have sessions.
Oh, this would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is me first announcing it, so maybe that will get some responses. But maybe I'll get motivated to write a web page on my website about it. Because I think because often, like sometimes, like for me, when I got into this subject, I was so young and I had no money. Like it's okay if you're maybe in your 30s or 40s or 50s when you've like got your regular job and your income, but if you're younger, then it's a lot harder to pay for these things.
Yeah, it seems to be a phase for me right now.
Yeah,
so,
and sometimes it's so super helpful when you're younger at these ages to like have these interactions because you're making big choices for your life and for what you're doing next.
Yeah, it's a priority for me, so
yeah,
like I try to save up for this stuff, and then
yeah. So if anyone fancies sponsoring Brian, please send me an email.
Yeah, it would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you.
Pleasure. Yeah, really lovely speaking to you, and thank you for being so honest and open. I'm sure that was super helpful for a lot of people listening.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks,
Lots
Lisa.
of love. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, so that's enough for today. I am off. And Khaleesi looks at me because she knows that normally means walks. She's like, off. Oh, you have to see Khaleesi because she's so cute before we go. I don't know if you often get to see Khaleesi. Let me just put the camera around. Oh. Sorry. Oh, you boopy boopy boop. Yeah, there you are, EC. Oh yeah, that's a bit scary, the light, isn't it? Just like unsure. Oh, aren't you so beautiful? Yes, you are. Aren't you beauty? I love you, EC. Yes, I do. I love my E. E, E, ooh. E, E, ooh, ooh. E, E, ooh. E, E. She might run away if I move the light much more. E, E, ooh. E, ooh, ooh. She knows how clumsy I am. She knows how clumsy I am, aren't you, my love? Okay. Well, I wish you all a beautiful day or evening or afternoon, and I shall see you next Sunday.